Welcome to IGS 10-minute lecture series. This series is brought by the IGS department. IGS stands for Integrated Global Studies. In this series, a professor from the department will give you a mini lecture about her or his research area.
To a conflict that is very rarely covered, and certainly not covered to the extent that it should be, which is in Sudan, where a humanitarian catastrophe in North Darfur is escalating, as Human Rights Watch has documented.
Well, two activists in Europe made a splash today to call attention to climate change.
The latest drone strike on civilians is a reminder that nowhere is safe in Gaza.
President Volodymyr Zelensky says 31,000 Ukrainian soldiers have been killed since the start of Russia's February 2022 invasion.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What do you think is a conflict? Can you tell me any cases of conflict?
I think conflict is when two or more parties have mutually exclusive interests. So, for instance, imagining two countries with one river passing right through them. Both countries want property over the river, but both cannot have it at the same time. Therefore, there's conflict.
I think conflict is existence of contradictory interests.
I think when there is human, there is conflict.
The lack of unanimity could be also the cause to conflict.
Maybe break up with your lover also lead a conflict.
It can be violent or non-violent, international or domestic, between groups or between individuals. Conflict is a situation where group of people have contradicting needs, and conflict can be resolved by varied means. What we need is avoiding a violent solution.
So, in my opinion, conflict resolution is a subject to consider how we can resolve conflicts without violence.
Yes.
Yeah, however, resolving conflict sounds impossibly difficult, especially considering what's happening in Gaza and Ukraine. So, at least for me, talking about conflict resolution sounds kind of empty and vain.
I understand what you mean, but instead of just being indifferent or feeling powerless, we may discuss the social structure behind it.
The social structure?
For example, why do the superpowers break the international law rules?
There are always politics, a balance of powers and power games.
Yeah, but despite the existence of international rules, powerful states can't just follow their interests without fear of being sanctioned or punished.
We also need to recognize that current legal system is established by the elites of those big countries.
What does this mean?
This means that the rules are created in a way that those powerful countries can keep their privileges and advantages.
That's right. We understand that fairness means equal opportunities for all. However, in our system, certain group of people have better access to resources and more opportunities while others don't. That is because of the social structure, such as the gap between the rich and the poor, gender gap, and people with or without disabilities. Iris Marion Young terms such situation as structural inequality. Structural inequality is difficult to see for those who are not facing such inequality. Most of us have hardly recognized others' sufferings. Thus, to make the world worth living for the less privileged people, structural inequality needs to be explored by the privileged majority and considered in the lawmaking process.
If we apply the concept of structural inequality to international conflict, we can say that the voices from the global south, female and others, are less heard and less reflected in law and the institution making than the voices from the north and male.
We need to understand the different voices of the people whose needs are not easily seen.
Oh, true. I hear oftentimes terrorists are less privileged members of society that commit acts of violence in order to make themselves seen by the society they see as oppressive.
Right. Listening to the voice of the less privileged and the structural inequality is necessary not only for a fairer society, but also a more peaceful society. Not only structural inequality, but you may have different focus and different approaches in conflict resolution study. What topics would you like to discuss with us for conflict resolution?
How about conflict resolution education in conflict areas?
What about mass media role in the conflict?
What about the importance of self-awareness in conflict resolution?
I would like to discuss mediation. And what about you?
Last night, I had a dream of us coming together. Last night, in my dream, I saw unity. I had a taste of democracy, and I felt safe. East to the west and south to the north, people were living in peace, seeing the eyes of justice everywhere. Every land was thriving with love and prosperity. And I woke up asking myself, oh, I woke up